Hi and welcome to Find What Moves You. My name is Tracy and it's my goal to inspire people to live active, healthy lifestyles. And today I am fortunate to have Kelly Rooney with me. Kelly, welcome.
Thank you so much.
The show, as you know, is about inspiring people to move. I called it Find What Moves You because it could then be about finding what moves you physically, could be emotionally, could be spiritually. And with you, we get to cover all of that. But for right now, we'll leave that for a moment. What I would like to talk about is you. So from the beginning.
Okay. So my personal journey with wellness, exactly what you mentioned. I started off with an intention on the physical. I was looking for a form of exercise that I enjoyed, and there weren't any. I was not really tickled by many sports. I like surfing and skiing, but I couldn't do them on the regular. So I stumbled into yoga and then found that it was something that I loved the feeling, and I knew it was something I could do anywhere, anytime. I didn't need any equipment, and I could be anywhere in the world and I could do yoga. And then, as you mentioned, there's all these different layers. After spending quite a few years in what we call the asana, the physical postures, the practice that most people know of as yoga on the mat, I started going into the philosophy of yoga. And I just found that I found a sense of peace that I had never experienced in any other way.
So when did that start for you? How long was the process? So you were going through other sports, other ways of exercising. How long was that journey for you?
It was a journey where I kept sticking my toe in the water and taking it back out. I spent the year when I was 29 traveling around North America in a van, and I was living in this van, and I had taken an old 1970s yoga book with me, and there was a lady in a leotard and tights and with all of the different postures and the breathing techniques, and whenever we were parked and camping, I would take it out and I would start doing some of the work, and that was my first little touch on it. I was probably 29 at the time, and I came back to it occasionally for a class here or there. And then when I moved to Southern Africa, I found a place that inspired me. It was a Buddhist retreat center, and that was when I dove in deep to my yoga journey.
So you've already talked about a whole bunch of other things that I would like to touch on. But I think that for a lot of people, when maybe it's changing now, but they think about yoga, it's that 1970s traveling in a van, you know, the magazine you were talking about. Do you feel like it's changing though? Do you feel like the view of yoga is changing?
I think we have such an easy connection to it now because of technology. You can really access different yoga videos and philosophy and meditations on your phone or on your TV. I think people have access to information that I couldn't get back then. So
Absolutely.
I love that it's available now. And I think people are starting to recognize it as the more holistic tool for enlightenment and peace, and not just the physical. I would love to see people who are experiencing that beautiful yoga bliss recognize that that can be sort of your baseline.
Your normal everyday. I find that the more I practice yoga, the more I'm able to deal with challenges in a more peaceful, in a better way on a day-to-day basis. So you mentioned something, holistic wellness. Can you just expand on what that means for you?
Sure. For me personally, that means having taking into consideration not just my physical health, but also my mental and emotional health. And for me, it's also a spiritual practice. So it is my connection to oneness, to source, to recognizing that we are all connected. It's also my way of regulating my nervous system and my breathing so that I feel more at ease. And then there's the philosophy of yoga, which has helped me in everything from decluttering my house to making me less connected to material possessions. It has a huge ranging impact on my life.
That's interesting what you said. I find that as I traveled through my yoga journey, I had, again, like you said, less of a connection towards things, but I wanted to see more. So you've traveled quite extensively, and it's helped you in your practice as well. You've done a lot of your trainings far, far away.
I have.
Again, I wanted to just touch on that a little bit later. You have a whole bunch of different modalities that you do. So
Yeah.
can you just describe what some of them are?
Sure, and I love the fact that when anybody delves into any one of these modalities, they tend to be drawn from one thing to the next. So for me, it started with yoga, and yoga was the first step on my path to wellness. And then because meditation is such a big part of yoga, I then became certified as a meditation teacher. And then I found a meditation tool that I really love, which is yoga nidra. So then I studied yoga nidra. And then I met a beautiful yoga teacher who was also a massage therapist, and then I started training in massage therapy, and then Thai massage, and then sound healing, which is the use of the Himalayan sound bowls, so using the vibration of the sound bowls. I also trained with several different masters here in Thunder Bay on Reiki, so channeling Reiki energy through bodies. It really is one after another, and it could take a whole day just to talk about them all.
So you also, I find that there's so many things. I'm sure you and I could talk about this probably for a couple of hours, but as yoga instructors, we tend to not necessarily work in one place at a time. You and I actually met at a gym where we both work, where they have this sort of interesting policy where they will have, I was training, so I was coming into your class, and I was to take over halfway through. And I was concerned about that because it was kind of a strange thing for me to have to do that because we all have our own styles. So I came into your practice. That was the first time I had been, introduced to you. So I had no idea. I heard you practice, the first half, and I realized that I was going to have no issue with that because we actually taught very, very similar styles to the point where our boss was in the room evaluating me and said he had to open his eyes to make sure that we had switched because we are very, very similar. But there are so many styles of yoga. You had mentioned, like we talked about, there's different limbs of yoga, not just physical. There's also breath and there's meditation. But even within yoga styles, very, very different. I tend to teach a lot of power yoga. So what kinds of yoga do you teach?
I teach a lot of different styles too, less styles than I used to. This has been a long journey for me too of teaching. When I first started teaching, I taught a lot of power yoga, and I even did HIIT yoga, so high intensity interval training with my yoga. And now I would say it's more gentle yoga. I like yin yoga, where you hold really gentle postures over 2 to 5 minutes at a time. That's generally what I do nowadays, is gentle and yin.
So it was at first the exercise for you, very physical practice. And now, would you say there's a balance, like a 50-50 balance between the two now for you, spiritual, physical?
No, I would say I'm probably, if the pendulum is swinging, I'm more in my slowing down, taking things easier phase. I don't have as much of a physical practice as I used to. I'm much more dedicated to the sound healing, the Reiki, the meditation, and the massage. So I only teach a few gentle yoga classes a week. It's very much a gentle phase.
Okay, so much more that I want to talk to you about. We're going to take a short break, and we will be right back. We are back with Kelly Rooney talking about all things yoga, not just yoga, but wellness in general. So Kelly, you have studied in many places. First, where you started, where you've been, experiences you've had, anything you want to share.
Yeah, it's been such a fun journey. As I mentioned, I was living in a van for a year, and that was really where the journey began. So that was the coastal tour of North America. I would say Texas was one of the places where I started practicing quite regularly. The weather was beautiful, and I was just out on my yoga mat every day. But then I moved to Africa, and strangely enough, Africa is not a mecca for yoga. So the fact that I really delved into my practice there was a bit of a surprise. I found a Buddhist retreat center that was about 45 minutes away from my home in Botswana. And I would travel there regularly to go on weekend-long silent meditation retreat or to do yoga practices and study the philosophy. And so that became a home. I still go back there every few years.
Did you travel to Africa to study yoga, or was it for a different reason?
I moved to Africa as part of the Canadian government's program called CEDA, the Canadian International Development Agency.
Okay.
So I went there. My former job before becoming a yoga teacher and a massage therapist was marketing and fundraising. So I went to Africa to help.
Wow, that's a far reach.
It is.
From where you are now.
Yeah.
Okay. How long did you do that for?
About 20 years.
Okay, so how long did you do that in Africa?
I was there for 8 years doing different contracts, helping with different marketing programs and plans.
Okay, so then you find this retreat.
Yes.
And were you certified there?
No, actually, I did my certification in Mexico.
Okay.
There's a beautiful place in Mexico where I did my training, but the Buddhist Retreat Center was really where my passion built for following this path.
Okay. So again, we're going to talk about the fact that there's different styles of yoga. You mentioned yin, which is a very slow-moving hold practice. When I started taking my teacher training, I was so concerned about the fact that I was going to have to take yin because I am not good at sitting still. I thought I am a power yoga kind of girl. That's all there is to it. And I was so pleasantly surprised to learn that that's where my practice would grow the most, would be in a gentle yoga or a yin yoga. And meditation, my meditation practice grew. The thing that I was most shocked about was how much I enjoyed yoga nidra. And you and I touched on that in the first segment. So can you just let everyone at home know what that's all about? Because I'm sure a lot are like, what is that?
Yoga nidra, when people hear the word yoga, they think it's going to be physical and that there's going to be movement. Yoga nidra is actually a fully still guided meditation. So with yoga nidra, you want to lie back on a mat. You want pillows under your knees and under your head, a blanket on, maybe an eye pillow. You want it to be as comfortable as humanly possible. And then you are guided through all the 5 layers of yourself, moving from the external to the internal, working your way through in a very scientific and systematic way into the deepest state of relaxation. It's almost like a hypnosis, but that when you leave, you feel fully refreshed. And there's a lot of studies that show it can give you the same effect as 4 to 8 hours worth of sleep. So if you have 1 hour, you can feel as refreshed as a full night's sleep with the yoga nidra.
When I first started to practice yoga nidra, I had a tough time getting through it because I would always fall asleep. And I thought, well, how am I ever going to teach this to anyone when I can't stay awake myself? Did you struggle with that when you first started?
Not only when I first started, when I did my training, it was an online training during the years of COVID when everything was locked down. And I fell asleep during every single training. So I would have to get up and start the video process all over again, call into the Zoom call again and say, sorry, I fell asleep. And yeah,
I would often have to look back to see where I fell asleep because you start to fade in and out. And it's a really, really lovely thing though when you get the practice, when you can manage to stay awake and find that your mind isn't wandering anymore. In meditation, do you find that a lot of people are so very concerned with, I'm not doing this right?
Yes. And that's what I was going to say about yoga nidra, which I love for new people to meditation. It's fully guided, and I feel like it keeps you on the right path because you're being held by the hand, really by the voice, and drifting along the path to this meditative state. So for people who say, I can't meditate, I say, try yoga nidra.
Again, people that say they can't meditate, any tips and tricks? I know that for me, I tend to tell people, try 30 seconds.
Yeah.
there's no doing it wrong. So
Yeah.
what's your philosophy? What do you tell people when they say, I can't?
Same thing. It's not necessarily that you must sit still. Maybe you like to meditate while you're driving, and I don't mean closing your eyes, but being
that's dangerous.
fully present in that moment, feeling your hands on the wheel, noticing the colors and the light as you drive. Maybe it's sitting and having that sip of coffee in the backyard while you look up at a beautiful tree. Meditation doesn't have to be stationary. It can be walking, it can be moving, it can be a moment. It can be closing your eyes and savoring a good meal.
So everyone has the ability to do that. I think the one that I was introduced to recently is really, I'm a chef. So your meditation through cooking, just enjoying the smells and the sights, the sounds, like crackling in the frying pan, that's a meditation for me as well. I find that's probably the most soothing for me, that and folding laundry, right? There's a sense that happens there. And some people might think that's crazy, but folding laundry for me is a big one.
I love folding laundry, which is great because I also do massage therapy and I have a ton of laundry to do.
Yeah.
But that's another place where I slip into a meditative state the whole time that I'm working on someone.
I've told that to other friends and have them look at me a little strange, like, yeah, okay, you want to come over and fold mine? Have you, or do you attend other people's classes?
Oh yeah, I love to. I actually have been attending classes a lot recently. There have been phases in my life where I drift away from going to other people's classes and just have my own personal practice, but recently I felt drawn back into the classroom, and I'm really enjoying letting other people guide me and noticing what's coming up for me when I'm being guided into a posture that might be challenging for me, or being asked to leave a posture before my body really feels like it wants to. So it allows, a big part of the process of yoga is what you learn about yourself. And so what I'm finding is having other teachers is bringing awareness to different parts of myself.
I find that when I'm instructing, there isn't a lot of noticing going on. It's very tough. And that's a big part of yoga, is what you had just said, noticing. Can you just explain that?
Sure. I don't know if I could do it justice in a short period of time, but we always say it's not about learning to touch your toes, it's about what you learn on the way down. So,
oh, that's perfect.
Right? If you're trying to reach for the ground, are you being hard on yourself? Are you, why can't I stretch? This is my fault because I'm not active enough. Listening to that voice in your head, which often is negative, and becoming aware of the negative self-talk so that you can let it transform. This is the part of coming to self-acceptance, self-compassion, self-love.
It is very tough to know, but it is the truth that most of the talk inside the head is negative. And I've talked a lot about that with friends lately, and just trying to maybe talk to yourself the way you would someone that you really care about. We are going to be back with Kelly in just a couple minutes. Hi, and welcome back. We are here talking with Kelly Rooney, all things wellness. Kelly, you and I have talked a lot about yoga already, but you have so many more other things that you do. Massage therapy. I'm going to have to look down because I have to remember all the things. Sound healing, Reiki. I know you have a gratitude practice. And I'd like to talk about all of those things. So first of all, the massage therapy, you're a registered massage therapist, I'm guessing?
No.
Oh, okay.
I actually studied Swedish massage, so you don't have a registration for relaxation massage, which is what I studied.
Okay, so there is a difference. There's something I didn't know. So
Yeah, there
Swedish massage and Thai massage.
Yeah, those are two different formats that I do, and I also do hot stone massage. These are all considered relaxation massage.
Okay.
Therapeutic massage is regulated in Ontario, and that's what a registered massage therapist does.
Okay, so you still had to do, you had courses and whatnot that you had to do for the relaxation massage, which honestly is my preferred type, and Thai massage as well. Is it just a very relaxing style?
It's relaxing. It's also done clothed, and it's similar to what we do in yoga, but the style that I studied in, there's a lot of rhythmic motion where you use pressure as somebody is stretching on a mat on the floor.
So having to be very careful to remind people that we're instructing to not go past any points of pain or anything like that.
Absolutely.
And then something that I honestly know very little about is Reiki.
Okay.
And I'm very excited to let other people know about it.
Reiki is something that there are many Reiki practitioners in Thunder Bay, and there are many Reiki masters. So
In our city?
in our
Yeah,
city.
okay.
So in order to become a Reiki master, you do a Reiki level 1, Reiki level 2, and then a Reiki master. And I had the opportunity to do all 3 levels of my Reiki master training with different people here in Thunder Bay. And that's because we have so many people who know this style of channeling energy through your hands. It's an ancient Japanese healing art of channeling the energy through your hands to the person that you're working on. And so you can do that by either placing your hands directly on the person's body or even letting them hover over the body at different key points through the chakra systems and the meridian lines in the body.
Okay, there's a whole bunch of things I want to touch on there. So even yourself, you know, if you put your hand somewhere on your body close, you can feel the warmth from your own hand. So I'm guessing that's the kind of energy that you're moving through another person's body. Would you mind mentioning, you mentioned chakras, could you talk a little bit about that?
There are 7 major energy centers in the body that run up the spine from the base of the spine to the crown of the head. And these different chakras can connect to different parts of our development as a person. So your root chakra at your newborn all the way to your adult at the crown chakra, but they also connect to different physical ailments. And so knowing the chakra systems can help you to tune into the energy and where it needs support. You might do that by knowing it intellectually and studying it, but you also might be able to feel it intuitively when you get used to sensing energy.
So when you're working, you know, with energy centers, when you're doing Reiki, do you have a lot of people that are naysayers, or they're like, you know, what is it exactly that you do?
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say to those people? Like, just, I'm not saying to try to convince them, but it is a very powerful thing. It's ancient practice, like you said. It's been around this long for a reason.
Yeah.
So,
well,
you
there
could
is
speak
a
to
lot
that.
of scientific research now. So if you really want to read the scientific research, you can. What I usually say is if you believe, then you might be able to tune in and even feel the benefits or feel the connection or even have an out-of-body experience or have a very beautiful epiphany. If you don't believe, you might just feel a sense of relaxation and knowing that somebody is caring for you and nurturing you. There's really no downside to having someone take care of you.
Yeah, there's really nothing bad about feeling completely relaxed and taken care of and held, like,
Right.
and I don't mean held like this, but I mean, you know,
Yes.
held in a sense of spirituality. You also mentioned sound healing.
Yeah, this is a new passion I've been studying. I did, there's some sound bowl healing courses here in Thunder Bay. So I did the first one and the second one, and now I'm doing a mentorship with an amazing practitioner here in town. What I've been learning is how this simple bowl, when it's placed on the body, you can feel the vibration all the way through the body, and have had some really amazing experiences with people where they come in with isolated pain and it's been able to be released through sound healing in a way that they hadn't been able to find relief for it before. Finding people getting completely relaxed and being able to let go of some of their worries and get out of their head and get into a more relaxed state, which is when the body starts to heal itself. So I am loving the journey of experiencing sound bowl healing.
You've mentioned something a couple of times now, that you've worked with, you know, so many different people at every level. I know for myself what the benefit of that is, but for you, what's the benefit of working with so many different practitioners?
Well, this is important to me. I feel like when you do this type of work, it's sacred, and it is something where your intention is to help people on their healing journey. And the more people that you can learn from, the more modalities that you feel drawn to and can weave into somebody's healing journey, all the better.
I feel that way as well. And it was when I had asked you if you ever go to other people's classes, I find for me, it's not there, like I'm not there to try to steal their thing that they're doing, but learning from other people too that practice in a different way than you do, I think is really beneficial for us as instructors as well.
Absolutely. So much to learn from each other.
So you also have a very deep gratitude practice.
Oh yeah, it's something I haven't really thought about and haven't talked about recently, so I'm surprised that you even knew about that.
Facebook.
Over the years, the gratitude practice has changed. There are gratitude journals out there, so I have done gratitude journaling where every morning and every evening you write down things that you're grateful for, and usually these journals have prompts. I'm not sure which one you are referring to. My daughter and I had a practice for an entire year. When we sat down to dinner, we would write on a little slip of paper what we were grateful for, and we would fold them and drop them into a glass jar, and then on New Year's Eve we would dump the jar and read through all of them. It was so much fun.
No, specifically, I actually don't know like what you practice.
Oh, okay.
That sounds like our Thanksgiving Day, one day a year kind of thing that we do. That is beautiful. Then you can see, everything that was wonderful throughout your entire year.
Yeah,
and
lovely.
do you practice karma yoga?
Karma yoga is something that I practice usually very quietly and in my personal life.
Okay. So karma yoga is when we do things that are for other people, don't draw attention to ourselves for it. It's just to be a better person.
Yes.
Kelly, is there anything else that you would like to tell me quickly before we go?
No, it's just been such a pleasure talking with you. Thank you for doing this show and for bringing inspiration to everyone.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching. Until next time.